I'm not here to like insult your grandpa, right? But we must be very clear that the type of immigration that we support is when you follow our rules, considered to be a stigma. In white upper middle class culture, for those of you that grew up in Waukesha or Libertyville or grew up in Hinsdale or grew up in Naperville, you guys all know those neighborhoods?
At just 18 years old, a teenager without a college degree decided to challenge America's most powerful institutions. That decision turned into one of the biggest youth movements in modern politics. This is the story of Charlie Kirk, how he built influence, money, and a nationwide network all before he turned 30. Early life and first steps. Charlie Kirk was born on October 14, 1993, in Arlington Heights, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago. He grew up in a middle-class family, his father working in the architectural industry. Unlike many political commentators who studied politics in prestigious universities, Kirk actually skipped the traditional route. He attended Wheeling High School and briefly enrolled in community college, but never earned a degree. Instead, Kirk poured his energy into politics at a young age. By the age of 18, he had already published opinion articles and caught national attention. In 2012, he spoke at the Republican National Convention, a rare opportunity for someone his age. That same year, he co-founded Turning Point USA, which would become the centerpiece of his career. Turning Point USA and its growth. Turning Point USA started small, but Kirk's ambition quickly transformed it into one of the most recognizable conservative organizations in the country. The mission was clear: to promote free markets, limited government, and individual freedom to college and high school students. What made TPUSA different was its style. Instead of relying on think tank reports and policy papers, it leaned heavily on catchy social media campaigns, campus events, and direct outreach. Kirk understood early that to reach young people, you had to speak their language, using viral posts, memes, and short, direct speeches that cut through the noise. By 2019, TPUSA reported revenues of over $28 million, making it one of the fastest-growing youth political organizations in America. Kirk's leadership and fundraising ability turned what started as a two-person operation into a nationwide movement with chapters across hundreds of campuses. Expanding into media and influence, Kirk didn't stop at activism. In 2019, he launched The Charlie Kirk Show, a podcast and radio program that quickly rose into the top conservative charts. The show mixes political commentary, cultural debates, and interviews with high-profile guests. By moving into podcasting and radio, Kirk secured a direct line to millions of listeners. His program later joined the Salem Radio Network, one of the largest Christian and conservative broadcasting networks. This step firmly placed him among other big names like Dennis Prager and Hugh Hewitt. Kirk also became a frequent guest on Fox News, gaining even more visibility. By 2020, he had built himself into not just an activist, but a media personality with influence that extended well beyond college campuses. The financial side of the movement. Political influence often comes with financial backing, and Kirk proved to be a skilled fundraiser. Donors who supported conservative youth outreach poured money into TPUSA, with major contributions coming from wealthy families, business leaders, and political networks. By 2021, reports showed that TPUSA and its affiliates controlled assets worth tens of millions of dollars. Kirk himself benefited from this growth, with salaries, speaking fees, and media contracts bringing in significant income. While exact numbers vary by report, estimates suggest that his net worth moved into the multi-million-dollar range thanks to his organizational leadership, media deals, and book sales. Author and public speaker, Kirk also positioned himself as an author. His books include Time for a Turning Point, 2016, The MAGA Doctrine, 2020, and The College Scam, 2022. Each one targeted young readers and college students, focusing on conservative values, critiques of higher education, and arguments in favor of free markets. He became a regular speaker at conservative conferences, including CPAC, and his speeches often blended personal storytelling with pointed political commentary. These appearances reinforced his role not just as a behind-the-scenes organizer, but as a frontline communicator for conservative youth. Political connections and campaigns. Kirk's rise also paralleled the political rise of Donald Trump. He became one of Trump's most vocal young supporters, defending him on television, at rallies, and online. This connection gave him more credibility within conservative circles, particularly during the 2016 and 2020 campaigns. In 2019, Kirk helped launch Students for Trump, an organization aimed at mobilizing college students in support of Trump's re-election bid. Reports indicated that it built chapters in key swing states, directly engaging young voters. He also created Turning Point Action, a political arm that allowed the broader Turning Point network to engage in more direct campaigning. This blurred the line between nonprofit activism and political action, raising questions in the media, but giving Kirk's movement more firepower in elections. Education, faith, and cultural battles. While many saw him as a purely political figure, Kirk also leaned heavily into cultural and religious debates. He often framed his arguments around Christianity, family values, and traditional social structures. This made him resonate with audiences beyond college campuses, including church groups and family-oriented communities. In 2021, he founded Turning Point Academy, a project aimed at providing alternatives to what he described as left-leaning education. By promoting Christian-based schooling and homeschooling networks, Kirk tried to extend his influence into K-12 education, not just colleges. Controversies and criticism. Of course, Kirk's journey was not without controversy. Media outlets often criticized TPUSA for its style of activism, accusing it of relying more on viral stunts than serious debate. Some critics also raised concerns about its fundraising practices and ties to political campaigns. But regardless of criticism, Kirk's network only grew stronger, suggesting that the model he built had tapped into something real and lasting. Influence beyond politics. What makes Charlie Kirk stand out is how he blurred the line between activism, media, and education. He didn't limit himself to one lane, but built a brand that touched multiple aspects of American life. By the mid-2020s, it was clear, Kirk was more than just a conservative activist. He had become a multi-platform entrepreneur of ideas, building an empire that mixed politics, media, and faith. If anything, his model could inspire other young leaders on both the left and right to adopt similar strategies. Charlie Kirk's journey shows how one person, starting with little more than an idea and a willingness to speak up, can shape national debates. From his early teenage activism to leading organizations with tens of millions of dollars in funding, his story is as much about strategy as it is about politics. Now, with his sudden passing, the question shifts from what he could build next to what will remain of his legacy. He built not just a political movement, but a cultural one bridging activism, media, and faith. Whether you agree with him or not, it's hard to deny the scale of what he achieved. So, what do you think about Charlie Kirk's rise and the future of his movement after his passing? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.